Hi everyone. So today we have Mustaq Ahmed to give an insights to Intro to Prototyping with Figma. Mustaq Ahmed, a UX engineer and visual designer at Locale.ai, is an open source enthusiast with an eye for a detail. He advocates design and builds for the web. He is one of the SOSC alumni and ex-GitHub Education Campus expert and a mentor to many in the community. He has conducted various workshops and talks on Git and GitHub, Node School, and geospatial analytic tools, to name a few. So I'll give a brief introduction on Figma. So Figma is the first web collaborative and powerful vector design tool. It's arguably the best tool in the design industry used to design wireframes and prototypes. In this workshop, we'll learn how to create design system and build a full-fledged prototype using Figma. Over to you, Mustaq.
Hey, hello everyone. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Let's start. Thank you, Michelle, for the warm introduction, and thanks for the whole SRC team for having me here today. So yeah, let's get started. And before that, I hope you guys had a great time listening to the previous sessions, and the sessions happened yesterday. There are some interesting talks. And if you haven't watched it, after the workshop, go ahead and watch those talks. They are really interesting ones, and it might help you better your design path after you learn Figma. So yeah, let me share my screen. Awesome. So yeah, I'll be taking a workshop on introduction to prototyping with Figma. So a little bit about myself. My name is Mustaq Ahmed, and I work as a UX engineer at Locale.ai. We are a location analytics and intelligence company based out of Bangalore. So we basically do help on-demand companies like Bounce, Swiggy, those companies which have their ground assets moving. We help them understand how they are moving and make better decisions from analytics. So I'm also SOSC's alumni and an ex-GitHub Education Campus expert. And yeah, I mostly design, build things for the web. And you can check out my portfolio at hackzit.com. So if you have any queries at the end, I'll share a bunch of links at the end of the workshop so you guys can reach out to me if you have any doubts. Okay, let's get to the good parts. So yeah, I hope a couple of you in the chat or in the stream right now might have used Figma. But for the new ones, Figma is a design platform for teams who build products together. So let's put the teams part aside, and if you take the design platform, it's one of the best design tool in the industry right now for teams. Why I mean teams is that because Figma has a powerful collaboration feature. Basically, if you have a team of design, everyone can design all together. And if you have other people in your team, like a product manager or a programmer, everyone can get onto Figma and do their stuff. Basically, it's not just for designers, but it connects all these stakeholders of your team together. And it's also a web-first prototyping tool, so you don't need specific OS to get started with Figma. Any operating system, Mac OS, the Windows or Linux, you can get started with Figma. And it's a web-first, that means you can access the entire platform through a browser. Just head over to figma.com. But if you're using Mac or Windows, you will have a native application that you can download and use it from there. Cool. So what will we cover in this workshop? Yeah. So due to time constraint, we won't be going to the full-fledged workshop, but I will walk you through the basics, and I will show you how to build a design system. I won't be building a design system because it will take a lot of time. So I'll be just showing you the tools and features that Figma offers that will help you all to build a design system and creating prototypes in Figma. So if we have time and if our electricity and Wi-Fi is on our side, we might be able to design a couple of screens and prototype it for you guys. And at the end, we'll check out the Figma community and plugins, which will help your design flow, make your design flow a bit better and help you out with a couple of things. Cool. Before we start, let's head over to, if you are planning to going along with the workshop, you can go to figma.com. But I'll be moving a bit faster because of the time constraint. So you can always check the recording later, but tune into the stream so you can learn a bit of tips here and there to be better at Figma. So I'll be coming into the chat like within every 10 minutes to see if you have any questions. So keep your questions ready. If you have any questions, keep dropping it in the chat. I will look into it. Okay, let's head over to figma.com. So if you haven't created an account yet, so you can go to figma.com and sign up. And once you sign up and log in, you will be treated with this particular screen. Cool. I hope so far so good that the stream is going on. Everything is live. Yep, we are good to go. So once you first get into Figma, there are a couple of things in the sidebar. Let me zoom in for you guys a bit. A second. So I hope the stream goes full screen. Yep, that's good to go. Yep. So in the left side, you have the navigation bar over here. We have the search where you can search your projects. And there's a community tab. There's a draft and team. That means we are searching within your drafts and the projects you are working on within your team. There's a community tab where you can basically search the files created by the Figma community. And coming to recent, most of you all in the stream, if you are signed up for Figma for the first time, it might not look like this. It might be empty. But if you've been using Figma for a couple before, it might look like a visual mess like this. So there might be a lot of files you're working on. These are recent files. Then there is a community tab. I'm not sure everyone will have this because it's still in beta. So if you have it, it's basically where you can find all the things created by Figma community. You will get UI kits, already designed wireframes, design systems, icons, plugins. There are a lot of things you can explore over here. And finally, the draft section. This is the place where you actually, whatever the files you created or the projects you created will end up here. So you can go through all your files over here in the draft. And rest everything is basically your teams in Figma. If you are working in a team, you will have the team section. You can create a team in Figma and add your co-workers or colleagues into it and start designing together. So without further ado, let's get started with the basics of Figma. So to create a new project, there are two ways to actually create. So you can see a plus button on the top right corner. You can click on that, or in the left side navigation bar near to the drafts, you can see a plus icon. So it's basically create a new draft project. Okay, let's create a new file. And if you are coming from a design background, for example, if you have been designing for a long time and been using Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop, this UI might look awfully simpler because it's very simple. There is only a bunch of tools over here. Then everything on the sides, it is not overwhelming. So it is fairly simple, just a couple of tools. And we'll go through each one of these tools and see what they actually do. But yeah, so I hope if you are tagging along with the workshop, you can directly go to figma.com and start creating a new project and come back to the stream so that I will explain you the tools. And after a couple of minutes, you can actually go back and try those tools out. So yeah, first things first, you can see a hamburger menu on the top left side. This is basically they call it as search, but it's the file menu. You will most probably never go here while designing. It's awfully rare to someone to go here because all the things you need in here is actually available when you right click the screen. But yeah, the only thing written over here is there's a back to files thing over here. So in case if you're wondering how to go back in Figma, this is the thing. So you can go back to files from here. And you can search whatever the settings and components from here. And the second tool is the select tool. Select or move tool. Yeah. So basically, whenever you have something on the screen, you can move those things around. And there is a few more tools here as a scale tool. We'll get back to how we can use them a bit later. And the second thing is actually a frame. So a frame is quite similar to if you have been using Photoshop or Illustrator. A frame is quite similar to what you call as an artboard. An artboard is basically you can treat them as like a block or a section of a page where you can do your things. So in Figma, you can think about it as a screen where you're designing for. So whenever you click on the frame tool or if you press F, you can actually see in the right side a bunch of options we have provided with. So even if you directly draw, you won't get anything. So if you delete everything, just get the frame tool, you will see all the options on the right side, which basically shows all the possible dimensions that you can design for, or you can have a custom thing. So we have a couple of phone, tablets, desktop, watch, paper, social media, Figma community templates. So if you go to phone, you can get like most of the popular phone screen sizes over here. Then we have the tablet section. We can get the tablet dimensions and desktop. If you're designing for websites or desktop, you can use these things. And there is a watch. If you're designing for Apple Watch or such things, you can use these dimension. If you're designing for paper, I mean, you can design for anything. Figma is basically a tool which has turned into not just a UI design tool. You can design almost anything. You can even design posters, your resume. Or fun fact, this workshop slideshows are also being designed using Figma. So you can do almost anything. You can even do illustrations, icon design, and a lot more. So there is a social media tab where you can get all the social media templates. For example, Twitter posts, Facebook posts, Instagram story templates. So for time being, let's actually use a phone. You can see Google Pixel XL. You can get a direct frame over here. It's just a white space on your artboard. So you can see it over Google Pixel XL. If you don't want it, you can directly draw manually. So you can click on the frame tool. The cursor will change to a plus icon and you can simply click and drag, just like how you draw a rectangle in Microsoft Paint. Yeah, so it's that easy to get started with Figma. So once you draw a frame, you can see a couple of things over here. So your right-hand side panel changes a bit with a bit more features. And the left-hand side panel has a couple of things over here. Let me explain. So first one is the layers panel. So layers tab will show all the objects in your project or objects in this particular page. So whenever you create any object into the page, everything will be visible over here. You can manage the hierarchy where should go to the top, to the bottom, or anything from here. And then assets. Assets is the place where you can have like shareable components. So if you're working in a team, a designer will be there in the team. He or she will design something and share it to the entire team. So whatever is there, it will be visible over here. And in here, you can search the components or click on the library icon, team library. You can see all the possible libraries that's been shared with you or you have in your account. So you can enable or disable them, then they will be visible over here. Currently, I don't have any component library yet, so you won't see anything of it. So we will come back to this part in detail a bit later, but let's get back to things. So there's a frame tool. So as we told, this is the move tool, right? So you can basically, so this tool is selected, the keyboard shortcut is V. To press V, you can start moving things around in Figma. And the next tool is scale tool. A scale tool is basically, you can scale the objects in here. So if you move to the side, so you can see, you can scale the things, scale up or scale down. But you can do the same thing with the move tool actually. So you can delete this if you press F back. And if you can see here, so if you're drawing this, it's in the not proper dimension. So if you can press Shift, you can see the width and height of the object becomes proportional now. If you hold Shift and draw, you'll get proportional objects. And if you press Alt, you can see, it's messed up. So if you press Alt and Shift, you can see it is proportionalized in all four directions and you are drawing from the center. If you're normally drawing something, you are drawing from the top to the bottom. If you are holding Alt and Shift, you will be drawing from the center of the object. So if you can see, it draws from the center. Cool. By word, the frame thing is not as similar to what is there on Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator. It has a bit more feature. So we'll explore that in a while. Yeah, there is one more tool over here called as the slice tool. We'll get back to it in a while we have some objects on the screen. So yeah, let's go to the next tool. These are basically the basic shapes you can draw with Figma: rectangles, lines, arrows, ellipse, polygon, and star. Almost anything in Figma has a shortcut over there. So whenever you hover over something, it will actually show the shortcuts. You can press the keys to activate them, or you can directly click on them. So in Figma, you don't actually need an artboard to draw anything. Artboard is an optional, but whenever you are designing for a mobile screen or something, it's good to have an artboard, not artboard, good to have a frame. So you can design inside that. Or you can use a frame as a block of elements. So you can basically draw a block. Start drawing a frame. And then you can start drawing an object over. This is actually a rectangle tool. And there is a circle line tool. Basically, you can click and draw things, click and drag. These are basic things. I hope you all will be easy to get started with this. There's an arrow, there's an ellipsis. You can draw circles. If you hold Shift, the circle will be proportional. If you hold Alt and Shift, the circle will be drawn from the center. Awesome. Now, these are the basic shape. There is a place image thing. We'll get back to it in a while, how to place images, how to draw stars, all these things. and there is the pen tool. And if you have been designing in Illustrator or Photoshop, you will be familiar with pen tool. This is, if you're a beginner, it will be a bit hard for you to actually get started with pen tool. But once you master, you can actually draw like really custom and complex shapes using Figma. I don't know what this is, but this is how we draw things in it. And it has things like anchors and points, so you can basically change the curves and all these things. So it's basically a Bezier curve. So whenever you activate this tool, you will get a bit more options. So you can get add bend tool. You can basically add bending in any way in straight line. And yeah, if you are getting started with the pen tool, it might take a bit of time to actually explain the pen tool entirely. So we won't be using this much. I will actually share a link with you so that you guys can explore that pen tool a bit more. So I guess Bezier.ac, not quite sure. So let's Google that thing out. Yeah, Bezier.method.ac. You can head over to this website. I'll share the link in the chat for you guys. Yep. So if you head over to this website, you can actually start learning how to design using the pen tool. There's a couple of options which you can learn. You can draw multiple shapes and learn how to actually use the pen tool. So once you master it, it will be really helpful tool for you to draw like custom shapes, start drawing illustrations, all these things. Cool. I'll drop the link in the chat. You guys can check it out later on. And let's get back to it. There's a pen tool, there's a pencil tool, basically draw pencil things. Yeah, delete that. And there's a text tool, which you can use to add text in here. Easy as that. Then there is a move tool, hand tool. Actually, is it a hand tool? Yeah, it's a hand tool. If you press H, you can basically easily move things around here. So a couple of other shortcuts before we get started. Press V to the move tool, the default tool. If you can press V, you can go there. You can start moving things over here. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out, you can hold, if you are on Windows or Linux, you can hold Control and use your scroll wheel to scroll. If you zoom in or zoom out, and if you hold Shift and scroll, it will go left and right side. And if you just scroll, it will go up and down. So just keep that in mind because it will be handy and it will make your workflow a bit faster. Or else if you want a bit more faster moving things, you can press the H and get the hand tool in and you can basically move it anywhere you want. Cool. Now let's talk about the right side panel of objects. So I have drawn a circle over here. So if you can see on the right side, there is a bunch of options over here. There's a lot of options actually. So in here, the top panel is for aligning things. So we have a frame here. So if you go back to layers panel, you can see the ellipses we drew is actually inside a frame. So when these options will help you align the objects inside a frame to its certain positions. Or if you have grouped things together, you can move it to certain positions. So the first thing is align to left. You can, if you click that, the object will align to left. If the next one is align to center, horizontal, and align to right, and align to top, align to the vertical center, and align to bottom. So you might be thinking, why do I need to use them? So if you drew a circle and you want to bring it to the center of the canvas, you can basically use align to the horizontal center and align to the vertical center. So you can get that thing on the center actually. For example, if you have multiple things, so you have a gray circle, and if you draw another circle which will give a color of red, and if you want to align them together, top of each other, what you can do is you can basically go and place it over here. The guidelines will help you over here. There's a guides. Basically, you can see the red line popping out there. This will help you to align things together. But if you have like 3 or 4 things and you want to align everything to the center, you can basically select everything together and you can use these things. So you can see how it happens so quickly. So whenever you group things together, the relative position will be of the whatever items you have selected, but you have only selected one thing. The position will be taken off your frame that you have. So if you do like this, it will only catch the frame. And if you have things together, it will take the group's position. So you can group everything together like this. Awesome. So let's delete those 2 things. And yeah, one more thing, if you want to copy things out, like if you have a circle, you want a copy of that, you can simply Control plus C and Control plus V. So you can see the second ellipsis came in, but it's on top. You can simply click and drag from there. Basically duplicating. There is one more easier way to do that. Click on that and press Control plus D. It'll actually create the second one. So you can click and drag over there. And there is a third way where basically you can click on it and hold Alt. If you hold Alt, you can see the cursor changes to double cursor. So there will be a double thing now. So you can, when holding Alt, just click and drag it. So you can get a copy of that. So you can see the ellipse 1, and ellipse 2 over there. Cool. Let's get on to the next few things. So once we actually complete exploring the basic tools, we'll actually get into building some of the most powerful tools in Figma. But let's finish these things off first. So the next thing over here in the right side panel is the positioning of things. So X and Y position, it is relative to the frame you are drawing in. So if you click on that, you can say 0 and 0. It will go to the X and Y 0 position. It starts from 0, 0 to the size of your frame actually. You can align over there. Basically, you can drag. It will automatically do those things for you. Now, the second thing is the width and height of your object. So it's 178 into 178 right now. Width is 178 and the height is 178. So you can, if you want to change it, you can basically change it over here, 300. So you can see this, there's a chain which is connecting. So if that means it's constrained proportions, when this is actually enabled, whenever you change the width, the height will be automatically changed according to your proportion of the height versus width. If you don't want that to happen, you can just click and disable that. Now you can simply change like 300 and the width won't get affected. They won't keep the proportions basically. And now let's Ctrl plus Z to change this back. Now we have the third thing, which is basically rotation. You can either use this to rotate things. Oh, you can't actually see it because it's a circle. It will be the same shape if you rotate a circle. That's the thing. And yeah, you can actually use, if you hover your mouse over here, you can select the item. If you hover the mouse over here, not the end, but a little bit above, you can see the rotate cursor. So you can click and drag that time. You rotate the things over there. Cool. So one more thing with a few more things with the circle. Before that, let's get back to the rectangle ones. So once you draw a rectangle, so there are a few things in a rectangle actually other than a circle. So you can see there will be one more option here. This is called as the corner radius. Basically, you can click and drag it, or you can give the corner radius of the object. So if you give like 40, you can see the edges gets cornered. This gets cornered now. The edges get what is the radius increase of the edge. So yeah, if you want to change it individually, you can see it over here. You can see that you can click on that independent corners icon and show all the four corners of the rectangle. So you can individually change everything from there. There's basically top left, top right, bottom right, and bottom left. So it goes like this. Cool. So that to keep in mind. So if you don't want to use that, you have everything over here. So you can see these small dots. You can click and drag them to gain it. Okay. You can disable that. Now you can click and drag. Then you will see everything will be automatically changing the radiuses. Okay. Now this is for the rectangle, and for circle there are also like a few different things over here. So whenever you draw a circle, you can see there is only a single dot over here. This is actually called as an arc. If you can click on that and drag it, you can actually draw an arc. So you can actually draw pie charts using it, like change the shape of the ellipse. Then there is, once you do that, you will also get one more point. It's the starting radius of it. So you can change that to like whatever you want. Yeah, then this is the ratio, which basically helps you like reduce the inner and outside ratio of the ellipse. So these are the basic tools in basic shapes. A rectangle and a rectangle tool and an ellipse tool. There is a line tool also. There is a polygon tool. Basically, you can start drawing polygons. Once you draw a polygon, you will have one more option over here saying that the count of sides. You can increase the side count over here. You get a pentagon, and if you increase that, you will get one more thing. So yeah, now moving on to the next thing. So yeah, basically a designer's job is draw rectangles. You'll get paid for that. So yeah, once you have this thing, let's go to the next important part actually. So we have the constraint things. it might be hard to understand about you. If you're coming from an Android background, you might have already heard about constraint layouts. You can see these blue dotted lines over here, right? These are something that means that this rectangle is being held to the top of the frame and to the left of the frame. So what I meant by that is, so whenever you are doing these things, it won't change its position because it is held to the top and left part. But if you change it from the top and left of the frame, you can see it moves along with it because it is constrained toward the top and left part. So you might be thinking, how is that being useful right now? So I'll show you something. So think about it. You are designing for like an Android phone. So you create a Google Pixel to Excel wala frame, and you want to create a navigation bar. So you draw a rectangle on the top, and you want a floating action button. So you draw a floating action button. Means basically a circle. Draw a circle over here. So I'll be using shortcuts. So I'll be telling what I'm drawing. So you can basically guess. If I'm drawing a rectangle, I'm pressing the key R. If I'm drawing a circle or ellipse, I'll be pressing the key O. So yeah. So to color these objects, whenever I click on it, there will be a fill option over here. So you can basically click on the color and change the color of it. So I'll do it a blue. And for the floating action button, I'll give a green maybe. An orange color. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to the coloring thing in detail in a while. So let's talk about constraints right now. So we have the Pixel to Excel over here. So this is the frame. So you don't have to manually select anything over here. If you don't want to select like this, you can actually go to the layers panel and select everything from here. So by default, you won't be able to select the frame by clicking on it. So if you want to select the frame entirely, you can go to the layers panel and click on it. So now you have set the constraints, right? So this circle has a constraint to the left and the top. But in here, this thing actually has a constraint to the top and the left. You won't see it, but if you go here, you can see the top and the left part is actually highlighted. So this is the horizontal constraint and this is the vertical constraint. You can see where it is actually constrained to. So what will happen now is, so tomorrow someone says that like we need to design the same UI for like a tablet. So you'll basically copy this and you'll basically change the size of this thing to look like a tablet. So you will drag this out. The thing is, it doesn't change anything. I mean, this looks awful. It doesn't do what we expected it to do. So what constraint basically does is, whenever you are done this, now this is constrained to the top and the left, right? So whenever you resize the frame, it won't change its position. To do that, let's delete this once again. Whenever we are dragging this thing, this should actually be in the always bottom left, right? Bottom right. So we'll change this constraint to, in the horizontal, it should always be on the right side. And in the vertical, it should always be in the bottom. So if you zoom in, you can see the blue lines will appear for it on the right and the bottom side. And now when you scale it, if you click on it, and if you drag it out, you can see the bottom part always stays there. The floating action button always stays to the right and bottom of the panel. And if you click on this, now this is over there in the top. The constraint is set to top and left. You need to change that. We can set the constraints to, for it to scale actually. Whenever you are resizing the frame to horizontally, we are saying that scale this. Scale this basically means resize the shape to the proportion of the frame. And you can actually you don't want to scale it from the bottom side, vertical side, so you can say it as stick to top itself. So now whenever you resize the frame, you can see it actually changes the shape. In case if you are doing something like you have a floating action button, you always want it to be on the center, just like how the dial button in your Android phones are. To scale it, it will still constrain to the left and right and bottom. To change that, click on the object and change this to vertical center. Now we are, you can see this thing actually shows you're constrained to the center of the frame and bottom of the frame. So now if you resize it, it will always stick there. You can see that. Now constraints are a bit important. We will get into it in detail when you are designing a prototype later on. But yeah, these things you need to keep in mind, basics. Actually. So yeah, let's get to the next thing. Fix position when scrolling. This option we'll use it later on. but we'll give you like a good example for that. Now there is a layer option. So this is basically for the colors. You can change this for individual things and see the color and the background, how it changes. So most of the time people don't know what it actually does, and most of the designers also don't know that. It'll be, most of the people will actually try it out and try everything out. That's a ritual. Most of the time it happens. So it's the same thing in Photoshop and Photoshop and all the other design tools actually. But you can see a few things: overlay, difference, exclusion, and all. You will basically change the colors based on what the background is. Now let's get to the third part, the fill part actually. The fill part dictates what is the fill of an object. Fill in the sense the color of an object. You don't have like a color dropper tool like MS Paint or anything. You have the fill object. Whenever you select something, you can see the color of the fill will populate with that particular fill. You can click on that and you'll see like a standard RGB selection area. You can basically click and here you can change the color. You can drag the slider to different saturation points and get those colors. And here is a quick shortcut. You can select any part of the area of the color and you can use your scroll wheel to scroll over this area. So this will automatically scroll. You can see it automatically change the colors. The bottom part will always slide. You can use that to test out different colors. Now, the next thing is actually the opacity of them. That means basically transparency. You can control the transparency over here. And if you want, like you are a web designer, you already have the CSS for it, for a color. You can basically click on this part, hex, and you can change it to CSS and you can copy paste your CSS code over here and it will take that. There's RGB colors, HSL and HSB, but we'll be using hex because we are designing for digital media. And we have the document colors. Whatever color you use in a document will always be available, so you can quickly change the color to that. Okay. So, yeah. So in the top, you have one more thing. It's called as a solid. It's saying it's a solid, but if you click on that, you will get a few more options. The first one, the second one is linear, which basically means a linear gradient. If you click on that, you will get 2 points where you can choose a color. Basically, you can change the gradient of an object. You can choose the 2 colors. Click on the first icon, change its color. Second one, and change that color. You can get a beautiful gradient over there. It's not beautiful, but yeah, it's a gradient. If you want to add like a few more points to the gradient, you can basically click on this particular panel over here. It will add one more, few more distance. So if you want to delete this point, click on that and hit the delete button. And the third thing is the radial, which basically like how you put gradients over like spheres and all such things. And there is an angular, diamond, and image. We'll get back to that image in a while because it's a bit important. So yeah, that's basically it for the coloring part. And now let's make it solid and give it an orange color. Cool. Now a few more things. Whenever you're designing in Figma, if you are like if you want to center it quickly, you can go here and you can click on the frame icon twice. If you click on that, it will actually get it to the center of the canvas. Cool. Next thing is actually the stroke. If you click on the stroke icon, it will be empty for a while. You can see the plus icon at the end. If you click on that plus icon, it will actually add the stroke, means the outline kind of thing. So you can change the color of the stroke. This is the second one is the opacity. It's 100%. You can change the transparency over there. Then there is the width. You can increase the width or decrease the width. And there is this option to put it actually in the center or outside. And there is a few more options over here for stroke. Basically, how the cap should look like. Whenever you're drawing line, you can change the end of the lines to rounded or square. Or if you're drawing a rectangle, you can basically say how the border should look like. And if you want to dash it once, you can basically put the numbers or number spacing over here, so you can get the dashed ones. Awesome. If you want to delete the style, you can basically go here and the plus icon will change to my negative icon. You can click on that. It will basically delete that particular style for you. You can zoom in a bit. And we are done with stroke. The third thing is an effect. If you click on that, you will get a bunch of effect here, but the default will be drop shadow, which basically used to add shadows to your object. So if you click on that, there is a few other things. You can put an inner shadow to an object. If you want the layer blur, you can blur the object. There is a background blur option also. So which is whatever the background will be blurred. So we click on the drop shadow layer blur. Everything will have like a small effect setting over here. if you click on that, it will actually open a window where you can configure the style, actually, that particular style. So there's X and Y. If you can change the Y position of the shadow, and you can blur the shadow effect a bit more, and spread is on more into the settings, and you can have the color of the shadow. And yeah, it won't be visible much, it's really light. And you can change the transparency of that. So you can basically change the transparency in the color panel also, but if you want to directly change it, you can click on that. So yeah, that's mostly the things for objects. There are a few other settings for that will be applicable for just for frames. So we'll go through that in a while. But before that, okay. The last option in the right side panel for object is an export button. So you click on export plus icon, you can see what scale you want to export a particular object in and PNG, which format you want to export it in. If you click on preview, you can actually see what you're going to export. Export basically means you can download the things. There is a JPEG, you can save things as JPEG, SVG. Basically click on any of the object or a group of object and click on export. So basically you'll be able to download the things. If you download it, yeah, you will get rectangle. Congratulations. You can download rectangles out of the internet now. Anyway, so those are the basic tools right now we discovered. Now, basic tools and options you have. So always keep that in mind. If you feel I went a bit more faster, you can check the recordings and catch up to it really slow. And please try it out, draw something and try it. I will look into the chat right now if you have any questions. 1 second. Yeah. Ajay SJ Prakash is saying, is Figma similar to Adobe XD? Yes, Figma is quite similar to Adobe XD, except for the fact that Figma is a web-first tool. That means you can use Figma in the web, inside a browser. You don't have to install Figma. Plus, it has quite similar capabilities like Adobe XD. But one more exceptional feature of Figma is that the collaboration feature is pretty damn cool. So if you are working with others, your friends or something, if you're working in this project, you can basically share a link with them. Anyone can view or anyone can edit. So you can both work together and the changes will be reflected simultaneously. So yeah, I don't think we have any more questions. So let's get back. So yeah, I told you guys that Frame actually has a bit more options. So whenever you create a frame, click on it. You can see there are two more options, auto layout and layout grid. We'll come to auto layout later on, but rest everything is as similar to a shape. A layout grid is basically, so if you are familiar with CSS framework like Bootstrap or something, or if you have designed for web, usually people design with the grids actually. So if you're designing for a web, you will have like a 12 horizontal grids, and give me a second. So yeah, you can have like 12 column designs, 5 column designs. This is basically a reference for you to how to place the objects and things. There's a bit more useful things for a grid. We'll show that in a while. But yeah, you can basically change the grid's position. How many column count do you want? 5 column counts. Then if you want the columns as rows, you can get rows. And if you want just grids, you can click on here and change it to grids. You'll get a lot of grids over here. So this is a good thing if you're designing for web and mobile. So you can have like a consistent layout and consistent spacing throughout your application. Awesome. You can change the colors, or whenever you're designing, if you draw anything, if you want to just basically hide that particular style, in the right side panel, there's always an eye icon. You can click on that. It's a visibility toggle. It will make it visible or hidden for you. And yeah, that's the basics. Now let's get started with how we can use the most powerful features in Figma. The first one is components, and the other one is style actually. So basically, whenever you are working on a project, so let's draw a frame over here. On frame or F, then let's see we are starting to draw something. You started draw a rectangular square, and you duplicated it, and you are doing a different color. So now you have these two colors over here. Now you want to draw another shape or something. You can draw it, but you can basically click on this and get this color back, but that's an issue. But you can actually share the styles across different objects. So in the right side panel, wherever you see these 4 dots above them, the style thing, This means that you can actually save that particular style and reuse it elsewhere. For example, if you click on this circle, you can see it has a style of red color. So if you want to save this fill, click on this style icon, and you can, the small pop-up will appear. So you don't say that you don't have any color style. So you can click on the plus icon over here, and you can say this color is my red color, red color. You can save it. Now you can see this actually gets saved over there. So whenever you are designing something later on, you can basically click on the fill over here. Instead of clicking it directly, you can go to the same 4 dots menu and you always see that saved color over here. So you can basically use that. Cool. So whenever you're designing like a big application or a mobile app, you want the colors to be consistent. So usually designers save these colors beforehand and then reuse it like this. For example, if I'm designing for a mobile application, I will say that this is my red color, and I will have a blue color, I will have another color. So I'll change these things to, so whenever you duplicate it, the colors get duplicated also. So to disable that or unlink it, you can click on this small detached style icon. If you click on that, you can basically get back the previous fill thing and save that color as blue, and click on the 4 icons to save that color again, plus my blue color. And again, for this one, we'll change this to a slight violet or something, and then save it as my violet color. So once you save the color, now whenever you draw something else in this particular project, so you can basically use the same fill styles to actually get those colors back. Draw a circle, and if you click on those things, you will actually see all the colors available to your project. You can click on that and change it whenever you want or color you want. Basically, this is how you save the styles. And you can save the similar things to any of these things. So you can save the styles for fill. You can save the styles for stroke. So if you add a stroke for this object, I'm adding like 13-point stroke. And I can actually save this. You can click on this thing, the 4 icon, and click on the plus icon inside it. And I can say that's a stroke color style. It's basically a color style. So you can go through any of this object and go to stroke and click on that. You will basically have all those colors over there. But stroke doesn't save the stroke styles actually. It only saves the colors. It won't save the style you have been in. For example, I have used 12 PT over there, but it won't save that. It will just save the colors for you. Cool. You can also save the effects also. So for example, if I add a shadow to this one, click on effects and just add a drop shadow. You can see I already have a shadow. So I'll give it like 20 pixels Y height and 10 pixels blur. So I have a shadow for this object, right? So what I'll do is I'll save this particular style, click on that and plus icon and save the shadow style. Now that style is saved over here. So if you want to apply the same style everywhere, you can click on any of the object and go to effects, plus the plus icon, plus the 4 dot icon, style icon, click on that and then show all the styles that's available to you in this project. That's you're saved right now. You can save the shadow style, and if you click on that, you will get the shadow style applied to that particular object. That's how you share your styles between objects. So this gets even more better when you're actually working in a team. You can basically share the entire style with your whole team project, all the projects are basically. So I'll show you how to do that in a while. But if you're not selecting anything, if you click on outside the any frame, it will actually show what are the colors you have in this particular project. So I have these colors and these effects. And whenever you are doing textiles also, whenever you are basically creating text, so click on T or a text icon, and then you can start typing something. So this is my, I'll say this is my title style. I will have like a 50 size, and the font family is Inter, and the font weight over here. Yeah, for text actually there is a couple more options you can get here. So whenever you create a text, we will have a separate panel over here which saying the text style. So you can change the font over here, whatever fonts you want. So Figma actually picks up fonts from Google Fonts. So whatever fonts you have available on like Google Fonts, the fonts.google.com. You will have most of the styles that's available on Google Fonts. You will be there on Figma actually. So whenever you click on here, you can browse through all the fonts available. It won't be updated as in Google Fonts because you might be losing one or two newly arrived fonts or something, but you will get most of the fonts over here. There's also an option to add custom fonts. We won't be exploring that right now. But yeah, you can change the fonts, you can change the font weight, you can make it bold or anything. And you can line height, change the line height, basically how your line height should be changed. If you are writing a paragraph, that's actually necessary. And you can change the letter spacing over here. Then paragraph spacing, these are the standard text editor features. Then you have the text align thing, you can align to left or right. Basically, if you have like a huge text container, then you can say align all the text to right, center. The next thing is the text align the vertically. So you can align the text to the center of the frame, center of the text frame, align to the bottom top. These are the basic tools you have available over there. Now, what we'll do is we can actually save these styles actually. So whenever you click on this, you can actually click on the 4 icon over there. You can say this is my title style. Whenever I'm designing titles in a page, this is the style I'm gonna use. Now, so next time, whenever you are typing something, let's change it to, let's not do this. Let's change it to regular and do some 30 points. And let's type something over here. Hello world. So you are designing something and you got like, you need to design a title. So you are actually saved the style before. So what you need to do is just click on the item you want to change the styles of. Then click on the 4-dot menu over here, style menu. And it actually show you what are the styles saved for this particular project. So you can basically click on that, it will change the styles to that. Awesome. So at any point, if you don't want the style for that particular object, you can always go back over here and you can see that unlink button over there. You can click on that and it will be unlinked. So you can basically do whatever change you want. So you can see whenever you create text style, this will be also available to the entire project. So in the root of your project, if you click outside, it will actually show all the styles available. You can see it over here. Awesome. This is the basics of how you can share styles between your components. Next, we'll look into a powerful feature of Figma, which is called as components. So component, without having all these features, still you can do all these things, even like the style sharing. Without that, you can still use Figma. You can basically copy paste the colors and things. But these features will help you move fast and design things more consistently. So let's actually start with the components. So before that, let me see into the comment section if you have any questions or doubts. Nope. So yeah, if you have any questions or doubts, you can just drop in here. So if I'm moving too fast, you can also say that in the comment section. So if you want to try it out while I'm doing it, so you can simultaneously do it. I will be waiting like this within 10 minutes, so you guys can like try out the things I showed you right now. So yeah, since there's no comment, let's move on. So let me delete everything over here. Click delete. Let's actually see how components work in Figma. So let me draw a frame. And then let's get started with before components, I have left something for you guys. So in a frame, there's a couple more options. So whenever you draw a rectangle or any other shape, there will be a few options over here in the top. The first option is the edit object. Edit object means basically whenever you are doing this, you will basically able to scale or change the size of it. But if you click on the edit object icon, you can basically see the border icons change to rectangle, circle. This basically means you can basically edit the shape. You can move the edges to wherever you want, change those shapes actually. So you can use that option or simply double click on the object. So it will change to the edit shape mode. Cool. The next thing is the create a component out of it. We'll come back to that. The third thing is the use as a mask. So we'll go to what is use as a mask means. So before that, let's actually do something. Let's actually show you how to add images to your Figma project. There's a couple of ways. One is go to the menu and the file. There's a place image option over there. You can use that, or else you can simply open your file manager in your computer. So I'll open the files and you can simply click on any image and drag and drop it over here. So my file manager won't be visible because I'm sharing the particular browser tab and not the entire thing. So you can open your file manager on the side and drag and drop it to Figma. So you'll get the images over there. So one thing to note in Figma is your images are not placed as images. They are basically added as backgrounds for particular shapes. For example, if you see this, you will see all the same options that you have saw for while drawing a rectangle. You will have the similar options, except for that fill part. If you click on the fill part, you can see instead of solid, the image is being selected. So it's basically a shape, and the background is set as an image. So you can click on this and change the image if you want. But always keep in mind, in Figma, everything is a shape, and images are actually added as a background of a shape, background style of a shape. Okay, so let's get to the thing where we talked about masks. What is a mask? So mask is one different way of hiding and shaping the object. So basically, I'll show you something. Let me draw a circle. So I want circle images with circular sides actually. So I'll create this thing and I'll add an image over here. Let me get an image. Give me a second. Yeah, you got an image over here. Yeah. So I want this image, this object to take the shape of this particular object, that means ellipsis. So what you can do is you can use this thing and click on the use as mask option, or you can simply use the shortcut Control Alt M. What this will make here, this will be used as mask. So you can see the image, only whatever on top of it will be only visible with the object space. Whatever the space is obtained by the object, only those things will be visible. Now you can see in here, we have a couple of other things also. So if I draw a rectangle over here, you can see it is only visible over the circle. Why this is happening is because, so if you can see on the left hand side, you can see this ellipsis is masking everything on top. So you don't want that. You don't want the rectangle to take the shape of the circle. What you can do is you can click on the image and the ellipsis together, hold Control and click both. Now those things will be held together. Now press Ctrl+G or right click and group section. If you group the section, the mask will only take whatever element is on top of that within a group. Cool. So the rectangle doesn't get affected by the mask, but I'll delete that. If you click on the image, you can basically move the image around and say this is the circular image. That's how you can use masks. This is a handy tool if you want to quickly add image and make it circular. But yeah, so you have an option of this also. You can delete the mask and you can basically click on that. You can change the border radius to make it a circle. But this is not consistent. So if you want proper shapes and things, use masks and use that method I just showed you. Okay, now there is one more thing. Whenever you add an image, you also get an option for cropping the image. You can click on that and you can basically crop the image. But yeah, that's an easy feature. Now, the final feature that I missed out, I guess, is the object option. So if you have multiple objects, so I'll draw a circle over here. And I'll give that color as red. So you have two circles. So if you want to whenever you hold these two things together, you can drag above these things or individually click items and hold Control and click other items. Shift and click other items. You will get one more option on the top. This is basically the selection options, Boolean groups. So it will have a couple of options over here. This is mostly misunderstood by a lot of people. It's hard to get right in the first time. But if you are a veteran designer, you might be familiar with these tools. Union selection basically means merge all shapes together. We'll get a single shape out of it. There's no more as two shapes. It's a single shape. But still, unlike Photoshop or Illustrator, Figma doesn't destroy the previous shape. It will still be available here, except the group is called as a union. Now, Ctrl+Z, get that back. Now the second thing is subtract selection. Whatever on top will be deleted from the whatever objects on the bottom. So you can see the bottom part is deleted. Now this is a new shape. Now the third option is intersect selection. Whatever is intersecting, keep that part and delete everything else. So if you do that, whatever is intersecting both the objects will be there and delete everything else. And the last option is exclude selection. It's basically quite similar to subtract, except that it excludes whatever there in the top. Cool. These things will come in handy if you are doing complex shapes and illustrations, but yeah, keep that in mind. So yeah, So far, we have actually gone through the basics. Now we'll actually design some components, and I'll show you how to design components and how you can use it to build prototypes. So we are already almost time, but we'll have a couple of minutes. I hope you guys will stay on the stream so that we can actually build some prototypes actually. So before that, let's actually get into a component. So I have a frame over here. So how do we design a button in Figma? So I want a button. How do we design it? Basically, it's a rectangle plus a text over it. So you can click on text and add like a button. So you click on both of them together, shift and click both of them there, and you can align them to the center. So this is actually a button in button, basically two shapes together. They're basically buttons. So there's a cast to it. You can resize the button and all. But if you do this, if you click on button something, it expands. It overflows out of the background shape because it's a shape overlap together. To prevent that from happening, you can click on the background and the foreground and right click on that, and you can see there is a new feature from Figma as add auto layout. To do that, this thing becomes an auto layout. Basically, the shape will actually change according to its contents. Now you type something, it will actually take the shape of the frame will take the shape of the object inside it. This is a cool thing. So you might need to use it whenever you're designing buttons and things. Let's shape it a bit to give a border radius of 10px. Yeah. Now we have a button over. This is like maybe you can call it as a primary button. And we need a few other buttons. What we'll basically do is we'll copy this button again and again, use it everywhere else in your project. But the thing is, at a point, people might be like, I don't like this button, so I need to change it. I need a border radius of like around 50px so that I need rounded buttons. To do that, you see that you need to do that for every button that you copied right now. Now, this is a bit, this is a bit annoying because you need to go back to all the instances. If you're working on a very large project, this will be a big issue. You need to change every instance that's happening over there. So to prevent that, the Figma has a powerful feature called as components. So basically, you can create components in Figma and I'll show you guys how it is done. Let's change it back to a button. So we have a button over here. Now, if you click on here, whenever you select something, you can see there's a 4-diamond option over here. It's called as create component. If you click on that, this will actually becomes a component. So you can see in the left-hand side, the color will change. It will become a purple thing. So whenever you copy it right now, all the copies will have like a hollow diamond icon, which basically means this is actually a copy of this base component. So whenever you create a component, the main thing that you create a component as, it will be known as a master component. So all the copies will be called as its instances, component and instance, just like how if you have learned Java or something, basically a class and objects, a master and its instances. These are basically copies of it. There are a few attributes to a component. So whenever I change the master component here, I'll change the border radius to 50. You can see all the other instances will also change its shape. And if I change the fill color of the master, you can see all the other shapes, all the other copies will also change its colors. This is a very powerful tool and feature. You can basically use it to create different variants of an object also. So I'll show you how it's done. So for example, if you're designing an app or website, there will be 3 or 4 states of a button. Actually, this is a primary button. So I'll rename this. For rename, you can directly double click on the name of the file, name of the thing you're renaming. I rename it as a primary button and rename the frames to buttons. So we have the buttons frame and we have a primary button over here. So I need a different variant of it. So I'll create another copy of it. Basically hold Alt and drag. Then I'll change this color to somewhere in dark color, purplish color. So now you see, you can change the styles of an instance. Basically, it's called as overriding the styles from its master. So this won't affect the main component. See here, this is the master component. But whenever you make a change to the instances, it won't reflect back to the master component. Basically, you're overriding that style. So this is my secondary component. I will rename that to secondary. Now I'll create one more instance of it and I'll say this is the style for a disabled button. So I'll change the color to like this color. I'll say this is the disabled particular object and I'll say disabled. You can see in the left hand side, we have a master component and two instances of it. Now, these are by itself their components. So what we can do is right click on them and convert them also as a component instead of an instance. So now we have three components, right? So we have a button stream and we have three components. Now you can start designing something. You think that you're designing a website and you want the button you designed earlier. You have that component created. What you can do is whenever you're designing something, you can go to the assets tab over here. This assets tab will actually show all the objects available to you, all the components available to you in this particular project. So what you can do is you can see we have saved three buttons as components. So you basically you can drag them here. See, it's as easy as that. So remember our primary button is here. This is the master component over there. So in future, if you want to say that I don't want this button over here, I want the secondary color of it. So if you go here in the right hand side, you can see there is a thing called as primary. This is basically the component. So if you click on that, it'll actually show all the available options over here. So if you click on that, it'll basically swap that instant to the other components on that particular frame. Or you can basically swap any component with any other component in Figma. So this is just how you can create components and instances in Figma. So you can create multiple components here. Then you can use that. So one thing is that since you have seen, if you click on that, it will actually show that these are the thing available. These are the components available over here because these are in a particular frame actually. So they will be grouped together. So whenever you have components in a particular frame, they will be grouped together. In case if you have things like you have a different style of different kind of button over here with like rounded corners. And let's give it a color of red, and let's see, this is a rounded button. And create that into a component. Align well and create that into a component. So we have a rounded button also here. Let's rename that to rounded. And we have the same instance of rounded. Let's change the color to rounded primary. And this will also change the color to this thing. And we'll have a disabled color also for that. Okay. So now we have like two styles of button over here. So whenever you go back here, and if you change the instant of this particular instant, you will actually see all the things over here, but you don't want that. You want them to like separate. This is a separate style of button. This is a separate style of button. So what you can do is you can rename whatever styles to something like this. So this is the normal button. I'll change this to button/primary and rename this to button/secondary and rename this to button/disabled and this to rounded/primary and this to rounded/secondary and this to rounded/disabled. You can see we have kept a naming convention. So this is the main, and whatever derivative that's come out of it will be named as /something. This is primary, secondary, and disabled. So you can see button/primary, button/disabled, button/secondary. So now whenever you click on this instance, click on here, you will actually get two options. Which type of button do you want? Since basically we kept that naming convention, Figma will automatically group them together and give us options. So you have like all the button styles, so with normal button styles. So if you want like rounded buttons, you can click on that with the rounded buttons over there. Awesome. So these are the basics of components. You can basically nest components together and do all those things. But for time being, let me actually stop the components wala things over here. And one more thing, whenever you are working in a team, all the assets you are in this project will be available here. So if you want to add any new asset, you can just basically drag over here to get a copy of that particular component. So if you want to publish this, so for example, if you're working in a team and all your teammates want to use this particular design style, this is basically a design system. A design system is not just this. You might be thinking, what is actually a design system? A design system is basically a foundation of how you build things. It is not just in interface design, it's everywhere actually. So, for example, if you consider that you can think about it like a restaurant. Each of the restaurant you visit have their own style, right? Their own way of serving, their own way of vibe, design within a restaurant, their own way of speaking to customers. So these things are unique for that particular restaurant. So this we can say that this is the design system of that particular restaurant, how they do things. And the same applies to manufacturing automobiles also. There is a design system for manufacturing automobiles in certain companies. And there is a design system for building interfaces and products also, digital products. So you might be asking, do I need a design system while building a product? Most of the time, you might not need a design system if you are a single person working on a thing. But if you are a huge company and you have a lot of people working together in a single project, you need to build a design system so that everything will be consistent. So what is a design system? As I told, philosophically, it's foundation of how you build things. But in literal meaning, you can say it is a collection of design guidelines, design principles, and the company values and the components. Basically, everything, all the small things that you need to build things out. So you might be thinking, why is it so important? So I'll show you a good example of design system, which is of Polaris, which is Shopify's design system, polaris.shopify.com. You can see Shopify's design system over here. So you can see all the things that they explain, how Shopify experiences, what is the Shopify experience, how to design that, how should you write the content, should be the tone of the language, what is the naming conventions, all these things. There is a different design for colors, typography, illustrations. There are components which you can reuse. Basically, everything clubbed together. And the main thing about having a design system is it should be implemented. That means you should enforce it throughout a team so that everyone use the same design system, or else it doesn't serve its purpose. So yeah, we won't be building a full-fledged design system, but as I showed you guys, I showed you how to create components and how your team members can duplicate that, have their own things. You have the styles over here and you have the components over here. So whenever you click on this team library, you can see one more option called as publish. Here, this is the file name. You can click publish. If you publish this, whoever there in your team will be able to reuse it. So basically I have here, I can see there is a personal colors located, AI colors. These are basically the styles that I have saved in other projects, other teams. So that basically I can import this style to my project and keep using it. So you can click on publish to save that particular styles, all the assets and all to your team library. But if you have Figma Pro, you can do that. Since in Figma Free, there are certain constraints and certain limitations on how you can publish certain libraries and all. So yeah, I guess we went out of time, but hopefully we'll have a few more minutes to actually design a working prototype and have it make it functional. So let's actually get back to that. Let me delete everything. So I have already created a few example things for you guys to get started with. So let me share that link. So if you go to figma.com/hackz, you will see a workshop file over here. You can click on that and you can see the duplicate button. If you click on that, you can actually duplicate this particular project to your Figma account and you can start working on that. So I'll share the link in the chat for you guys. So yeah, we have a question over here. Whether we should use Adobe XD or Figma, any personal preferences? Yeah, it's completely a personal preference and what your team uses. You can use any one of them based on the features and what you are comfortable with. Cool. Once you duplicate that, if you go back to Figma, you will actually see file called as Figma Workshop. And if you can click on here in the top left panel in the right side, there will be something called as a pages thing. This is a thumbnail. If you click on that, you can see all the pages within Figma. Within a project, you can have multiple pages. But yeah, I've added a few things. So we'll be designing a small app for like online shopping. Designing the app, and so we'll build a prototype for an online shopping app. So this is the small design I created. So this is a rough sketch so that we have 4 screens here. and there's an interaction happening. This is a rough sketch so that we can have a good start over here. There is a few images over here. So if you want the images, you can use this and download these images and use it. It's a screen tab. I actually saved a few colors so that we can reuse in this prototyping thing. So usually building a prototype might take a lot of time, but we'll try to wrap it up within like 15 to 20 minutes if possible. So I might go a bit faster. So if I'm going a lot faster, you guys can catch up with it after by seeing the recording. But yeah, look into the process and understand how things are done. So let's start. Let's start with a screen. Actually, we are designing for a mobile phone app. So we'll create a Pixel 2 XL, not a big iPhone fan. So yeah, and what it is. So yeah, if you go to the ideation page, you can see the sketch over here. So this basically has a few things common. We have the navigation bar common for all the 3 pages and the bottom navigation over there. So you can go to the screens and let's start designing the navigation tab. So we can draw a rectangle, press R, rectangle, and draw a rectangle. Let's give it a white color. And let's add a name of the app. Let's say shoe. The shoe online shopping site for shoes. So let's test that. And let's give a small style to it. Change the font size to 24. This is our app name. It's basically called a shoe. And we can align that to the center and just change the color of this thing to somewhere around primary so that it has some feeling to it. Now, before starting this, we need a few plugins actually. Plugins, I told you guys about plugins, right? So you can go here, figma.com, and you can find a few plugins over there. So you go to the community or plugins tab and you can search for a few plugins. So I search for material design icons. So you can see there will be a filter to plugins. So this thing, you need to install this material design plugin so that you don't have to design and download all the icons. So this plugin will actually give you all the icons available. Iconify is also one more plugin which you can use to actually get all the icon packs, a lot of icon packs. So you can install it. Once you install it, your workshop in the workspace, you can right click anywhere and there will be a plugin thing. And if you go there, you can see all the plugins installed on your account. So you can right click on it. We have installed the material design icons, and I need a search icon over here. You can get the search icon, click on that. You will get a search icon and place it in this side, center it. And we need one more icon for the shopping cart actually. So material design icons and cart. And this is your shopping cart. Yeah, let's actually change the colors to dark. So one more thing in Figma is whenever you select multiple items together, you can see there will be almost section called a selection colors. Basically, whatever colors inside the group you selected, you can change everything all together. So you can see black is common among them. Change that color to the dark for our design. So we have a tab over here. Top tab is ready for us. Yeah, let's change the color to dark. Now you can see that this navigation drawer is common, right? So we can convert this to a component. So I select everything together and create component out of it. So it's a good idea to keep your component separate from your screen. So I'll create a separate frame over here in the sides and name it as navigation. Now you can basically drag and drop it over here, and this is a component, right? So if you go to assets, you can see here navigation. Inside the navigation frame, you have the navigation bar. You can click on that and drag it over here. So this will be an instance. This won't be a master component. We have the master component over here, and this will be just an instance. So that means if you have multiple screens and you copied it to all the screens, if you want to change something, you can come back here and change the colors of it so it will reflect everywhere else. That's the first component we designed. The next component we need is basically the bottom navigation. We have 3 bottom navigations over there. The bottom navigation with 3 icons. So let's do that. Go back to screens and let's build the bottom navigation bar. Let's change the sizes to around 20 and That looks good. And let's change the color to dark color. Looks good. Let's move it out to a separate thing so that we can experiment with it a bit more. So as I told, we need like 3 icons over here. Let's bring 3 icons for it. Plugins, material design icons. The first one is the home icon. Let's keep it aside in here. Let's bring it as a language. And one more thing is the favorite icons. Favorite. And the third icon is the profile icon. Plugins, material icons, and profile. Not profile, we don't have a profile icon, we have like a person icon. Material design, so we can use that. Keep it in the sides. So we have icons over here. So what we'll do is basically this is a handy trick. We'll convert all these icons to individual components so that we can easily swap icons together all together. So we can click on it and create component, and we can say this is icon slash home, and this is icon slash favorite, and we can create this also a component and say that this is icon slash profile. So we have 3 component icons. We can easily swap the icons anytime we need. For example, let's design the icon space over here. So whenever there is a navigation bar, there is 2 states for any of the pane that's selected. One is an active state, one is inactive state. Basically, whatever page you are seeing, that particular icon will be highlighted, right? So we'll create 2 components over here. Again, let's actually create a frame, or else we don't want a frame. Let's actually bring in the assets over here. Let's bring the navigation. We have navigation icons. Let's bring the home icon to here and change the color to, this is the active icon, complete white. And we'll add a small circle on top of that to denote that this is the active page. It's like how Instagram does. We'll change the color to blue. Cool. Now what we'll do is we'll group them together and create this as a component. We can create component and we can say this is, we can go back here and this is the component right now. You can say this is the navigation icon slash active. This is the navigation active icon. So what if it's not active? We can copy that once again and say that we don't want this icon over here. We can say this is the inactive icon. For inactive, we'll change the opacity of the icon to it something different. And let's convert that into a component also. So this will be navigation icon slash inactive. We have 2 states of an icon over here. So let's basically change the size of this a bit. Yeah. So we need 3 icons right now. So let's bring the 3 icons. We have the first one over here. This to constraint, center with the scale. Yep, let's resize it a bit. It's good enough. Yeah, we have the active icon, then we have the inactive icon. For the home screen, we need like 3 of these icons. So we'll click on this particular thing. You can see you can quickly swap the icons from here. Favorites. Change the color to our inactive. And we can copy this thing entirely from here for the third one. And we can say this particular icon is favorite and this is the profile icon. So you can quickly swap it out and change the color. Basically with the opacity 29, this will also be 29. Instead of doing this, you can basically save the colors and do it together. But once you select all these pages together, you can see there's one more option coming up here. This is called as place the items together. So you can click on that. It will be placed equally with equal spaces. So you can then center it to this particular thing. No, not that. You can group all these icons together and then select this and center it out. So we have the navigation drawer ready. Whenever you click on that, you can easily change the spacing between them. So let's convert this into a component. Click on that and click on component. This is our navigation bar. Okay, now we have the navigation bar component ready. Let's bring that to our actual design over here. This is the design. Go to assets and you can see your navigation bar here. Just drop it down to a navigation bar. Yeah. We have this ready. So next thing, let's see, what do we have? What else do we have? In the ideation section, we have a scrollable view of all your shoes. Let's see, let's design that quickly. Go to screens. Now we need a rectangle over here. And let's say this is with border radius 10. And let's give it a solid color. From that, just change the color to somewhere around blue. And then what we need is we need to have some images of the shoes, right? So I have already added images over here. So if you are using the same file, you can download it. And then I already downloaded the images. So let's create a few of the icon components. Similar to how we created these icons, we need to swap these shoes images anytime we want. We can quickly create a frame and create another frame. So whenever you're designing icons, always make sure you are designing inside a frame so that the proposition stays same. So I'll create a 300 into 300 frame and add an image inside. So I already downloaded an image, so I'll simply drag and drop the image over here. Give me a second. There is downloads and we have shoes, and let's drag and drop a shoe. That's the shoe we have, so we can hover over it. So we can see this is the frame we have. This is the shoe. We can simply drag the image into the frame. So you can see everything else gets cut out. So you can simply resize the image to fit inside the frame. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, this is our shoe. You can resize it a bit, and let's say let it be in the same. We need to scale the images as the frame scale. So scale, and we change the height of this image a bit. So instead of that fill, you can change to fit so that it won't squish or squash whenever you're changing the size of the image. So it will just fit over there. So you can just change the height of the image because different shoes have different sizes. So that's our shoe right now. Let's remove this thing, stroke, and the entire thing. Let's rename it as shoes, shoe 1. And this frame, let's see it as shoes. We have this component. Let's create it as component, and then duplicate it once again. Now, if you click on this shoe icon again, you can see here, you can quickly swap the image of shoe with another icon, choose image, and it will open the download, your file manager. You can quickly choose another image from there. So you can see you have swapped that image with another shoe. And then you can, let's have like around 3 to 4 shoes so that it will be good enough for us. So let's change this image. Hold on. Let's bring this one and create another copy of it. And let's change this image to something else. This image. And let's add this one. So yeah, we got like 4 shoe images, and let's convert everything to a component so that we can easily swap the images whenever we want. So we can create Ctrl-Alt-K to shortcut, create a component. Ctrl-Alt-K, that's a component now. That's the component. And just rename it to properly. This is the second shoe. And this is the third shoe. And this is the fourth shoe. Yeah, cool. So we have the images ready. Now we can bring those images to the cards we are designing right now. So we have the card ready over here. So basically we are designing this part of the screen. So we can go to assets and you can see shoes images over here. All the shoes, just drag and drop on shoe you want. Resize it a bit, and to give some action, just you can change the orientation a bit and drag and drop over here. And we can add a small shadow to it, effects, and temp pixels and a blur of 15. And we can see is the shoe, and let's add some text over it. Let's name the shoe as Nike Air. That's the shoe. Let's give it a white color, and we can basically do it over here. Yeah, we have Nike Air over here. Then we'll change the font size a bit. It's too intrusive, 22, and we'll add the pricing, $4.99, and change the font size to a bit more smaller, and change the color to white. So we can place it over here, and this is our first card actually. So we can change the font size a bit. Nike Air, and it goes. 99. Okay. So we have a single component which says the shoes card. So what we'll do is we'll basically click on it and create the entire thing as a component so that we can reuse them. Create a component out of it. So let's duplicate this once again and place it over here. And now you can see once you put something outside of a frame, it will get clipped out. To prevent that, click on the frame. And there is a clip content option. If you disable that, you will actually see this. So let's change the items in here. Change the shoe. Click on the shoe. You have other shoes also in here. Then let's change the color of this card to something more greenish. Let's do green. Good enough. Yeah. Let's change the name to Nike Air Max or something. Good shoes, but still. Now you see a problem over here, right? The text actually drops down. So what you can do is in the master component, you can simply scale it out a bit so that the text fits to the end. Or we can put an auto layout to both of these things so that they will always go down when things are happening. Let's create one more of these things. Yep. And we'll similarly change the shoe to some other shoe and change the color to Yeah, that looks good. So let's grab all these things together and group it out. And we have it over there. Now we have all these things together. We're sliding, but let's see how we can actually scroll them in a while actually. So let's design the rest of the app. Images, ideation, we have a scroll list over here. So yeah, we'll wrap it up in a while actually since the time is running out. Let's see. Latest models. We are not writing inside here. Disable that. Let's actually write it away. So if you don't want other things to interfere in your design, you can just click on that and basically lock them out. You can lock it out, and this lock right now won't interfere in our design. So latest shoes. Then we have a couple of more things over there. The ideation, we have a list of all the shoes over there. So let's grab some shoes. Let's put it over here. And you can see this is the shoe. And we can name it something. Like Urban Freak. Change the font size to around 18 pixels and add the amount over here, $4.99. Cool, awesome. So let's make this into a component. Ctrl+G, and we can and create a component. Now we can duplicate this and change the image over here, shoe 3 to some other shoe. Nike Air Max. So since we have like more content that's crawling now, what we need to do is we need to basically resize our screen. So we can make it a bit more wider and bring this thing down. And and we can make a more copy of it and change this to shoe 4. Cool. So we have like a basic design for the front page ready. So what we need to do is we need to test out on how it looks like. So what we need to do is there's a second tab over in the right side panel. It's called as prototype. You can see a few more settings over here. But the starting frame, with which frame should the prototype start? It's disabled right now because we have a different frames of different shape. What you can do is you can create another frame over here, basically duplicate this frame. And this is the second screen we'll be designing. So let's see. And clip content and clip content. So this is the second screen we're going to design, and we'll actually delete the everything in here. So we might not need all these things for the second screen. So let's delete this thing also. We might not need those things too. But yeah, this is the second screen. So if you go to prototype, if you select the first screen, actually, let's rename it to home screen. And the second screen, let's rename it to product screen. Now, yeah, we have the product screen over here. Let's actually delete the product screen. Let's actually bring in a new frame of pixel to Excel itself. Place it over here. Let's add the components that we need. We need a navigation bar, actually. There is a navigation bar. Yeah. Let's put in a navigation bar to it and place it at the top. And this is the second screen that we're going to design. So in the first screen, whenever we click on the first screen over here, that is our Google Pixel to Excel and the home page. Home screen, you can see, if you go to prototype mode, you can see a small dot over here. This basically means if something action happens here, where should we go next? So just click on this thing. We'll look into it later, what it actually does. But whenever we do that, Figma actually understand this is the starting. So you can see a small play button over here. If you have that, whenever you click on the play button over here, it will open in a new tab showing your prototype actually. So in here, you can see your the design we created right now. Since it is a long list, you can see it actually scrolls down. But you can see here, I don't want this to be at the top, at the bottom. I don't always want to see it in the screen actually, even the navigation bar. So what you can do is go back to the design and click on this thing, go to design mode, and you can do is, in here, you can see a fixed position when scrolling. You can click on that and click on the same home screen and use that. So Figma is like, whenever you change something in the design, it will be automatically reflected live on your this thing also. So you can see this is over here and it actually scrolls down. So why it is hidden is because this is at the bottom of the screen. What you can do is you can right click and bring it to the front. Yep. Okay, I guess there is some issue with that. But yeah, you get the idea. So if you want something to stick on the screen, you can click on that and fix the position when scrolling it. Awesome. Let's go to the next screen actually. So let's design the second screen, which is basically our product screen. So whenever you click on it, we'll take them to a product screen actually. So we don't want these things over here. And let's design the second screen. So for the second screen, addition. Yep. We'll actually wind up after designing the second screen. So I will leave it up to you guys to design all the other screen and create a prototype out of it. So in the second screen, let's actually design the second, basically the product screen actually, this particular screen. So we'll design that. We'll draw a rectangle over here. And we'll give it a color of blue. So basically it will be coming from this screen to this screen. So we'll pick up this color and we'll take this particular shoe from here because it's disabled. We'll take this particular shoe from here and create a copy of it in here, and let's change the size of it a bit. And we have the shoe over there. And we need a back button over here. So let's add a back button plugins, material design icons, and back icon. So we have the back icon over here. Let's bring it over here. And yeah, let it stay over there. Let's change the color to white, and let's design the other things over there together. So we need a navigation bar, we need a add to cart button and a details panel over there. So let's design those things together. So draw a rectangle over here and change the sizes to 50 and 50 border radius. No, that's too much. 30 and 30. And change the color to white. And let's have the bottom panel over here. This basically will be used to create the add to cart button. So we'll have it here and change the color to dark and resize that to 30 and 30 again. And let's add the add to cart button over here. Let's quickly create a button. So whenever you're designing later on, trying it out, you can basically create these buttons into component and reuse them. So since time constraint, I am going to speed it up a little bit. Create a button, change the color to blue, and let's say this is add to cart button. Add to cart, and let's change the size of that to white and 18 pixels. Center it out. And if you want an icon, you can actually add an icon to it. Right click, plugins, material design icons, and cart. You can get that icon, change the colors a bit. And let's add the controller thing, tricircle, and change the color to white and reduce opacity a bit. And duplicate it. We need two icons over here. Icons. Add icon. We can go inside this. Change the color to this. Icons. We have the counter thing ready. Let's add a text to it. So I think this is visible. Cool. They have the bottom bar ready for the product screen, and we need to add the details over here. Let's add the details. It's Nike Air. Let's change the font size to 26 so that it's a bit more visible, and change the font size to medium, and you can maybe increase the font size a bit more, 34. And let's add a small text over here saying that sneakers. Let's change that to around 18 pixels and give it a light color. And what else do we need over here? We need to add the price actually. Let's add the price of $4.99 back to 22 or maybe 30. And what else do we have? We have a size chart over there. Let's have the size chart. So let's copy this thing over here. You can see it as sizes, and we can add these things over here. We can see it as give it a color of dark. This opacity, and see, add size is 6. Okay, basically you get the gist. I'm not gonna do everything together right now. It may take a lot of time. But yeah, these are the sizes available. So we have two screens ready. So now we need to connect them together so that it becomes a bit more alive actually. So you can see here, but if you see here, we cannot scroll this thing right now. So this is because we do a few more things. So what you need to do is you need to click on that and right click on that and click on frame selection. Once you frame selection, go into prototype, click on that and go into prototype, and you can basically resize it to fit to this particular shape. And overflow behavior, you can change it to horizontal scrolling. Once you have done that, if you go back here, and you can see you can actually scroll things right here. That's pretty cool. So what we need to do is whenever you click on the user click on this icon, we need to take them to the second page, right? So let's do that. Let's give this thing. Okay, the shapes are a bit messed up, but yeah, we can add a link to this shoe actually. Whenever the user clicks on this shoe, we can say that take me to this particular screen. So because we are in prototype, we'll have that dot over here. It will take into this particular screen. We'll see whether it works or not. It works perfectly well. You can also add animation. So whenever you click on this particular arrow over there, you can see that on tap, navigate to this particular screen. Animation is installed. You can basically add smart animation. I don't think smart animation will work because you need smart object on it. Yeah. But yeah, you can basically add like move in, move out. See, it's pretty cool. So, and we can add this arrow button to back to this screen. When I click on that screen, go back to that screen. So move in, move in. Wow, let's see how that looks like for now. Pretty cool. Let's change it to and then actually let me see how it looks like. Awesome. So this is basically how you connect the screens together. So due to the lack of time, I'll be stopping with this. So I've shared the link with you for the Figma workshop exercise file in the chat. You can go through here, duplicate it to your file and duplicate it to your account and start designing the other screens that I've left out. So before I move away, let's actually do something. Let me actually show you one more thing so that in case that is a bit important. Let me move it a bit further away to here. I want to see like in case we want like more images. So what you can do is let me hold these things together and make group that thing. Let me duplicate this thing to the side. So we'll have multiple image scrollable images over here. So let me actually bring this inside back. And you won't see it because it's outside the frame. So you need to disable the clip content. Let me change the shoe positions a bit so that we can see. Basically, there's a multiple images of a shoe. So I'll add one more thing over here and move it down a bit. And let me say this is the shoe. That is a different photo of the shoe. I don't have another photo of the shoe. Let's just put it upside down and let's see how it goes. So we have 3 shoes right now, but we need to bring these things to the bottom. So we have 3 groups of shoes, and let's actually group these things together. These things 1, 2, and 3. Ctrl+G to group them together, and right click and send it to back, which will basically put them at the end of the screen. Okay, cool. Now we have this. So if you go to the prototype, so let's start the prototype. We have the shoe, but you cannot scroll it here. You can go back to the previous screen, but you cannot scroll it back here. So what you can do is you need to click on the screen and click the content. So it will be visible here. And you can see this particular group we have here. Right click on that and frame the selection. Go to prototype and change the sizing to this. So frame the selection. That is a bit unpredictable actually. Right click and let's see what we got here. Add auto layout. Design and let's change it to -50. That doesn't work. Anyway, let's forget about that. Prototype scrolling behavior, horizontal scrolling. I hope that should work actually. But yeah, there is some issue with the thing, might have missed a thing or two, but hopefully you'll be able to scroll those things together once you have everything in place. Frame selection, let's put it out here. then prototype. Let's try it out. It doesn't work for some reason. Anyway, so yeah, give it a shot. Same way that I did for this particular part. Made this particular part scrollable. You can actually try it out how to make the others multiple image scrollable. So it's a task for you guys to try it out. Anyway, there is the ideation page where you have like other images of the two pages. You can basically create those two pages and connect the favorite to this particular part and connect the profile to the third screen. Give it a shot and try it out. And if you have designed something, just share the link with me so that we can maybe discuss and give some feedback on that. Anyway, that's mostly it for now. So one more thing I left out is like you might be thinking, does it actually give me out an app? Technically, no, it doesn't give you out an app. But if you go to the fourth tab over here, it actually shows the inspect item. So you can basically get the CSS styles of a particular component. For example, if you click on the text icon, you can actually see all the styles that have been applied to that particular style, and you can actually manually build it out in a particular different coding project. Cool. And yeah, that's mostly it from Figma. And if you guys are interested, I can actually have like multiple stream later on, maybe in the future. So let me know in the comments. I guess let's wind it out then. Awesome. Do you have any questions? Let's see, let's take some final questions. Nope, no question. If you guys have any questions, just drop it down. We'll stop the stream in a while. And yeah, I guess we can stop right there. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Mustaq, for sharing your knowledge about Figma. And thank you for showing the glimpse about this powerful tool. It was such a, in such a short time, you showed us such a beautiful illustration. I hope you all had a very good time and continue learning more about Figma. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you for having me here with you guys. And yeah, bye.